Welcome back to My Seminary Life. I'm your host, Brandon Knight, and welcome back to another edition of Fish FryDays, our devotional series to move us through the season of Lent. And for today's episode, for this week's devotional, it truly is a devotional because I had to present a devotional at a recent board of directors meeting for a ministry I sit on. I guess this is a life update I haven't really talked about here on the show yet. Back in March, I was voted on to a board of directors for a local ministry. It's a national ministry called Love Inc., Love in the Name of Christ. I was voted on to the board of directors for the nearest jurisdiction for Love Inc. in my community. Actually serves serves the place where I grew up, the town I grew up in, and also a lot of the surrounding area that I have preached at and spent a lot of my life at. What I really like about this ministry as I'm starting to get familiar with it more is that one of the reasons why I really wanted to jump in is because it is multi-denominational. When I was first approached about joining, I went to their website expecting to see like every Baptist church in the area listed. Instead, it's quite the gamut. There's non-denominational, Assemblies of God, United Methodist, Episcopalian, Reformed Church, I'm missing one, ELCA. Like there's quite a few different, I think there's even some churches that like volunteer that aren't like an official network church that are like Greek Orthodox and Catholic. So at some point, I'll probably sit down and maybe I'll have my director on to talk more about Love Inc. for those of you who are unfamiliar with it. But I had to give a devotional and to start off this recent board meeting, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to stick with Tozer. And actually, this also correlates to what I have personally been fasting from during Lent with consumerism. So to get things started here with our devotional this day, I want to read for us Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 3. One day, as he saw the crowds gathering, Jesus went up on the mountainside and sat down. His disciples gathered around him, and he began to teach them. God blesses those who are poor and realize their need for him, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. This is, broadly speaking, the beginning to what we know as the Sermon on the Mount. It runs from Matthew 5:1 all the way to the end of chapter 7. And specifically, it is the beginning of what we refer to as the Beatitudes, which when you do a little Latin word study, it roughly comes out to the blessed ones, the ones with whom have favor is what that term Beatitudes has. It's not quite virtues. We usually talk about the Beatitudes as like virtues of those who follow Jesus. It's not quite virtues as it is like, this is what it looks like. This is what someone who follows Jesus is. It's a hard turn to make. Anyway, throughout this Lent season, I have been reading, as I've talked about here on the show, From the Grave by pastor and Christian mystic AW Tozer. And the inspiration for my devotional comes from one of his devotionals here, where he calls this beatitude the blessing of owning nothing. And I'm going to read you a little expert. I cannot talk today. I am so sorry, everybody. I'm going to read you a quote from his devotional on this verse. These are the poor in spirit. They have reached an inward state paralleling the outward circumstances of the common beggar in the streets of Jerusalem. That is what the word poor, as Christ used it, actually means. These blessed poor are no longer slaves to the tyranny of things. They have broken the yoke of the oppressor, and this they have done not by fighting, but by surrendering. Though free from all sense of possessing, they yet possess all things. theirs is the kingdom of heaven. In the world today, there is a popular trend known as minimalism. You've probably heard about it before, read an article, stumbled upon a YouTube video, watched, what was that show from a couple years ago on Netflix of the woman who was like, hold this thing. If it brings you joy, keep it. If not, get rid of it. Or there for a while, the whole tiny house thing was like a whole show for a while as well. People living in like these like literally one bedroom, like that was literally the space of their house was a bedroom. Minimalism is like a whole lifestyle trend thing that people choose to go into. I kind of have this like heart of a minimalist, but the spending habits of like a collector because I like to collect things. But outside of the whole, like, it's a trendy lifestyle choice that some people have, for others, minimalism is a spiritual practice, a discipline, a spiritual discipline, as we would say. It embraces simplicity and it embraces being content. To be a minimalist, to be content, is to embrace the idea of not being controlled by things and the need for more stuff. Therefore, it is a way for us to stay away from a form of idolatry. Having things and having that desire for more things becomes an idol, can easily become an idol. It's a pursuit that we have that can control our lives, even though at some point the pursuit of things makes them the one controlling us rather than us controlling them. Whether it's the lifestyle of minimalism or a healthier understanding of what we need versus what we want or are told that we must have, embracing contentment for what we do have moves us to desire our glorious God. An acknowledgement of contentment. And we talked a lot about that in, I think that was 2 weeks ago here on the show, how fasting is really a declaration of being content with what you have versus, what you could have with the thing that you have given up. To embrace being content moves us away from finding our satisfaction, our needs in things or what we are told that we must have. And instead, we can put those idols aside to see our glorious God more, as we talked about in last week's devotional. When we become content, we live more open-handed with what we do have, just like the early church in Acts 2, who took care of one another as they had all things in common. Part of Lent, one of the things that often gets overlooked, it's always the fasting. The fasting is the big part. And as we have unfolded this devotional series over the past few weeks, we've seen that fasting is more than just putting something aside, right? Like, go back, re-listen to these episodes, and you'll see just how involved of a discipline fasting is. With that, though, another part of Lent is doing acts of charity, doing good works, doing acts of love. This is really highlighted, especially within the Catholic Church teaching on Lent. You don't really see that too much in like the Protestant pop culture version of doing Lent. And this is for me, as I've been practicing Lent over these past, 10 years or more now, like I have started moving. This is the first year where I've really started to try and embrace this aspect of giving, of doing acts of love along with my fasting. And so with my focus on consumerism, fasting from consumerism, that has brought a little bit more money into my pocket. And so I have been looking for ways each week to bless somebody financially. This is, as the early church in the book of Acts, they had all things in common. They were taking care of one another's needs. You go a little bit further on there with, bringing on Stephen and all these other deacons to help take care of all these people who need food, who need resources. So for me, this has been an opportunity to think beyond myself. I think this is what doing acts of charity how that really moves us beyond ourselves. Fasting, being content, seeking our glorious God are all good things, but they're all very within ourselves, right? The acts of charity part, the doing of good deeds, the acts of love, that moves us beyond our own personal relationship with God, our own desire to be more like Jesus, to then living that in a way that puts blessings upon other people. And that may look different for other people. That is something that does come up in Lent, of kind of the pop culture-y reason to do it, is that, hey, it puts a little bit more money in your pocket because you're not buying energy drinks or alcohol or sweets or whatever the case may be. But really, it's more than just, oh, I have more money now. We should then look for ways to be open-handed with the resources that God has given us to bless other people as these acts of love, to spread the love of Jesus through our open-handed ministry work. So may we learn to be content with less, live more open-handed, and seek our glorious God. Because that's the thing. Lent is, very much like this. It's always depicted as give up your thing until Easter, then bring it back. And yet, I think if we are moving through Lent in a way that is relational to God, that is mindful of what we are trying to do during this time period, then there should be a change with how we are living on the outside of Lent. As we walk into our new life coming at Easter, we are going to look more like Jesus. And so, although I may go back to buying McDonald's a little bit more regularly after Easter after Lent, because it's Easter and I have my new life in Jesus now, I've been born again, I also have been born again. I am new. I am a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, all things have become new. And part of this newness is to embrace a life of being content with what I have as a way to give to others and to seek my glorious God more. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you haven't yet already, please consider rating and reviewing this show wherever you get your podcasts. Pass this episode along to a friend who you think could use this word this morning. Thank you again for listening. Make sure you're following the show on the AW Ministries Podcast Network, and check out the other great shows over there, like the Bible After Hours, the Whole Church Podcast, and my sister's show, Kung Fu Pizza Party, a martial art pop culture show. And check out my YouTube channel, Studio 219, a place for faith and pop culture. We got two more Fridays in Lent, and then we will be returning back to our regularly scheduled time slot on Saturday mornings. And I believe the first Saturday episode back will be the 4-year anniversary special. This has been going for 4 years. How have you been listening for 4 years already? Why are you still listening? Thank you, though, for doing that, and we'll celebrate more here in a couple weeks. But until then, this is Brandon signing off, reminding you, as always, that theology is best served with a side of coleslaw.